I'm Francois, and today we got a really exciting subject. We're going to be talking about the differences, the advantages, the disadvantages of lead acid versus lithium. Gladiator fight we got for you, so let's get right into it. So before we jump into the comparison, let's do a little bit of history on these. So lead acid has been around for like 200 years. It was invented in the 1800s, and it has had some evolutions, but it's all based on that lead chemistry. On the other hand, we've got lithium. Lithium has been around since the 1980s, and we've done a really good job of perfecting it over the last 20 years to where it is today. All right, so let's dive right into the comparison. First thing we're gonna look at, size and weight. Look, this one is a clear winner. Lithium is 3 to 4 times lighter and 3 to 4 times smaller than lead acid. It's gonna be a lot easier to get into certain places because of that weight. It's gonna be a lot smaller, so you can be putting it in a room and not taking up the entirety of the room, which is really cool. Moving on from that, let's take a look at safety. So this one gets a little bit more complicated. If we take a look at lead acid is a really simple reaction, but it's not going to have the protective circuitry you're gonna find in lithium. That means you're gonna be prone to either overcharging or over discharging these batteries. If we take a look at the lithium side, you're gonna have a battery management system and a bunch of electronics in there that are gonna make sure that you're not over discharging or overcharging the battery. Now, if we look at a chemical point of view, lead acid is going to be a lot safer than most, and I say most in quotation, lithium types. So an NMC is prone to dangerous explosion if it did go into thermal runaway, versus a LiFePO, which is pretty much exclusively what we use, lithium iron phosphate, it's going to be a lot safer than that NMC. So it's a really good option for residential home energy storage. Now, another thing to mention with any flooded lead acid battery is you're going to be playing around with acid in there. That means that if you have kids running around and they have access to this space, it may not be a good idea. So if I had to pick a winner, I couldn't. I'm gonna put it right down the middle, call it a draw. All right, let's talk a little bit about maintenance. So maintenance on a flooded lead acid is usually just topping up the water every few months as needed. So there is some maintenance aspect to it. Other types of lead acid batteries don't have that requirement. If we look on the lithium side, there's really no maintenance at all. So on this one, there's a slight edge on the lithium. I'm giving it to lithium. Now, if we move on to the climate aspect, so we're talking about temperature, we're going to be looking at lead acid being operational in pretty much any temperature. So cold weather really doesn't affect it that much. You're going to get a capacity loss, but that's pretty much it. There's no operational issues. If we look at lithium, anything below freezing temperature won't allow that battery to charge. So it is going to be a little bit of a sore spot for it. Now, our lithium batteries do have the fully automated heating system, so that means you're going to be able to be charging those below 0 degrees Celsius or below freezing, 32 Fahrenheit. But on this category, I'm gonna have to give it to lead acid just because of that simplicity and because all of them can kind of run off of any temperature. All right, so last but not least, we are gonna take a look at the cost and lifespan of each one of these technologies. So lead acids are usually gonna be running 3 to 8 years, kind of that 4 or 5 years is sort of average for residential storage. Your lithium, you're more looking at like 10 to 20 years, really depending on how many cycles you're using. So on that pure basis, you're gonna be looking at the lithium. But next thing we need to look at is cost. So how much is this over a certain amount of years, say 20 years, how much is it gonna cost me? So we've broken down the math and we took a look at everything from depth of discharge, C values, rated cycles, and we've done the math for you so we can get apples to apples, basically dollar per cycles. So we've broken down that math. We'll put a link in the description so you guys can check out exactly how we did it. But what we did is we found out that the cost per cycle for a lead acid battery is around $3.20 in our example. And the lithium is $1.28 per cycle. So it's actually a lot cheaper for lithium. Now, the one thing we gotta mention here is that the upfront cost of lithium is gonna be a lot higher. So if you're on a budget and that upfront cost is a little scary on the lithium, you're gonna wanna go down that lead acid route. But overall, it's actually going to be more expensive. So that's really something to keep in mind. On this one, I'm going to have to give it to the lithium because if you got the money to do it up front, it's going to be a lot cheaper over that 20-year time frame. So there you have it. Whether you're team lithium or team lead acid, you can battle out in the comments and let us know. Go ahead and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.